I did a live, so we're here today. I'm actually in a funeral home. That is empty, it's just a display, so nobody's in the video with us back there, but welcome. So I'm Kari the Mortician, and the whole premise of this is that you get to ask me questions live. And I'm on my phone today, so I don't have the full chat screen going. So as you post a question, it'll pop up, but I might not get to it in time because they're gonna come fast and rapid for me. So I'm gonna do my best. If a few years later a relative decides to bury cremated remains, does a funeral director need to be present? It depends on the state. So like in Indiana, unless the law's changed recently, a funeral director has to be present for the burial of cremated remains even. Michigan does not. So you just need to know the laws of your state. Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Can I tell you guys, I literally don't know what day of the week it is. This is the first week that my girls are out of school. And so my work from home days have had them there. So it's felt like the weekends. It's kind of like the most Saturday feeling full week in my life. So I literally have no idea what day it is. So welcome to this day, which yes, is Friday. I am doing good. I'm super tired. So got an offer accepted to buy a new house and doing all that paperwork. I leave Monday for California, hopefully, and we'll be out there for a few quick days. We'll not have any time to do any meet and greets or anything, unfortunately, but so getting everything lined up for that. Just a lot of little balls in the air right now, and so the next about 3-4 weeks are going to be a whirlwind for me. So I'm going to show up as often as I can for you guys, but it's going to be crazy. But I do have some great videos coming up, so keep watch for them. Oh, Janae, you have 3 little girls today too. Yay. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I'm excited about the new house. Decorate, it is literally, the whole thing is white. Every wall, every ceiling, everything is white. So it's kind of a blank canvas. It's not new, it's an older house. I love it. Great layout, so get to kind of just do my own thing. I had some questions that you guys had submitted. Why would you x-ray a body the day after death? We don't x-ray bodies. Part of the autopsy, they may do x-rays depending on their protocol. So it might be their protocol, but funeral directors don't x-ray bodies. So someone had asked about Saturday funerals and why do funeral directors charge more for Saturdays? Why do they charge more for evening services? So Saturdays have become kind of a premium. Sundays are super premium. And so you're going to find that some funeral homes, as long as it's listed on the price list, are going to charge more for a Saturday, or even way more for a Sunday. Also going to charge more after a certain time in the day. Some cemeteries have, like, if you're not in by this amount of time, then you get overtime. So imagine if every funeral that you're planning, they wanted to all wait until a Saturday. You just can't do that. So it's kind of a premium, I guess you could say, to have a Saturday service. I want to remind you though, just because it's a Saturday doesn't mean way more people are going to attend. People have things on Saturdays, especially in the summer. You've got sports, graduations, weddings, things that have been on agendas for a very long time, which means that people can't come to a funeral, which is sometimes a last minute scheduled item. So it doesn't always mean you're going to get more people. The evening service, if you could do like an evening memorial service, if it's a memorial service type thing, do it on an evening during the week. Yes, it's going to cost you because you have to bring in staff to run that funeral. A visitation requires like a part-time person, but to have a funeral, you need a licensed funeral director. You're paying for the professional level of who you're having there to attend to you and all of your guests. So remember that a funeral requires a lot more staff than a visitation would. So that's why things are charged differently sometimes. Someone, studio workers to, yeah, for like cemeteries, they have to have their staff come in and on different times. It's overtime for them, or it's after hours for them, or it's outside the realm of what they would usually do. So as I was saying at the beginning of the video, if you're just popping in now, I'm on my cell phone. So if you post a question, it comes up for like a half a second and disappears. So you might have to just keep reposting it, not insanely too many times, but just repost, please, because I can only remember so much. When placing an individual in a casket using a body lift, how high in the air do they usually go? You're gonna go about this high above where the casket is. You're not gonna go like 10 feet above, but you're gonna come up and over and down in it. So in doing this, I'm also gonna have to swipe off my text pop up. Should do a video of business breakdown, mortgages, supplies, utilities. Yeah, I had some requests for that, Leo, and need to figure out how to do that well. How do embalmers create a peaceful look on the deceased face? You know, a person's face is how they look a lot of times too. So some people, happy birthday, Tony. Yay, happy birthday. Some people just have a frown. Some people have a scowl. That is their natural look. That's just what it is. We can't make them look different than how they looked in life. Perception is, you know, our perception of beauty or peace is not what is critical. It's how did that person really look in life. We can't make someone, you know, different than how they were. Remember the movie My Girl, when they take like the school marm and they try and doll her up with like the makeup and everything, but she's, at the end of the day, was just kind of a simple teacher person. So you can't alter who somebody was by our perception of beauty or acceptance or anything. Hey Tracy, do your family and friends ever want you to do the makeup to make them look dead? No, because I mean, we do makeup to make people look natural, not dead. I have some, I have a friend and she does like insane over, like her job is doing makeup, and she's done some like horror movie type stuff, and she does a lot of theater and everything. She is awesome. Hey JW. Yeah, so I've got a video coming up on the crematory. We did 20 questions with a crematory operator. So your top 20 questions. So that should be coming up soon. That will hopefully post. Getting approved right now, and that's a good one because you guys have so many questions about crematories. So I'm excited about that. Why 2 hour visitations? Visitations can be any amount of time. Sometimes an hour before the service, sometimes 2 hours an evening before, sometimes 3, 4, sometimes all day. There's, like in the city, it's very common to do an all-day wake where you go and you just spend 6, 8 hours at the funeral home. How do you know what type of makeup lotions and those liquid bottles in your videos you showed? I don't understand that question. I'll be in California next week, but I won't be seeing anybody. Let's say you pre-planned and paid, then you died 20 years later. Pretty sure the prices went up. So what locks in if you pre-fund in advance is the guaranteed items with that funeral home and the merchandise with that funeral home. So everything else is money towards it, the cash advance items. Now, if let's say that funeral home closes, you still have a fund that is for you because it's never with that funeral home. It's always with a third party trust or insurance. That's why it's important when you fund, you don't write a check to the funeral home. It goes to the third party funding company, and a contract from that funeral home is attached to it. So it's always there. Are decomp bodies buried in a body bag in the casket? Sometimes yes, sometimes double body bag. So it just depends. Your questions are coming so fast. I love you guys are asking so many. Unfortunately, I didn't have a computer with me today. I just have my phone. What do embalmers use to remove wrinkles from the deceased? We don't remove them, but we may use tissue filler, kind of like Botox for the dead, where we can fill the tissue out and it'll balance out some of those wrinkles over time. And some funeral directors go way over the top with that, and they make 99-year-old grandma look like she's 60, and that's just ridiculous. You shouldn't go that far. The Departures is one of the best movies. It's beautiful. I cry. I love it. Can you fly overseas with cremated remains with no problems? yes, you just need to have your correct permits and things with you. You sew and glue eyes closed and mouth closed. You don't sew the eyes, you just glue them closed. Test, test. Hello, Prince Namor. Guys, I am so tired. I haven't been drinking much caffeine lately, but today was a caffeine day. So who else is drinking coffee? Hands up. I'm slugging down, or chugging down, not slugging. I saw a local news story where the casket was leaking pink fluid in the church. Have you ever experienced leakage like this? So for the casket to leak that much, that means the body had to be literally raining off fluid to fill the casket, gone through a mattress, through the clothing, filling the casket to spill out. That is a hard one to believe because that is a lot of fluid coming out of a body. So unless there's an edema situation or something like that, the amount of fluid is excessive for that to happen. So yeah, pouring out or spilling out, it's dramatic news media in a lot of ways, I think, because that's to create such a thing it's very hard. How quick could I be buried if I were to die today with no embalming, just graveside? It depends on the cemetery. Some cemeteries can maybe do next day. I mean, if you die on a Saturday, you're not getting buried on Sunday. It's going to probably be Monday or Tuesday. But some can do next day, typically about a 48-hour turnaround. Some require 48-hour notice, if not 72-hour notice. So in order to be buried at a cemetery, if they don't have their own vault installations, the company, the cemetery, and the funeral home all aligned. So sometimes that's hard. You can be buried on a Sunday. It's going to cost you a lot more though. Your vault company is going to be a higher price, your cemetery, even the funeral home may charge a higher price for a Sunday. What do you guys think of little keepsake urns? Like taking home a little bit of your loved one. Would you do that? Would you feel comfortable doing that with like the little ones? They're just cute. Hey Roger, welcome. Would you guys want to take somebody home? Do bodies explode inside the casket? So they don't explode like you put dynamite in them and lit it. It's more they may breach, or there may be some kind of a pop of sorts, or fluid coming out or leaking and stuff like that. So they can, yes. Yeah, aren't they cute? They're just little. A lot of people use this size for infants or smaller children, or let's say pets. Same thing, because they're smaller. And I'm gonna slurp. Do funeral homes sell caskets that are designed with faces, colors, specialized caskets, or you have to go with a casket company? Longer to get a special order casket, because caskets are made just like cars. You can't go to a car dealership and say, oh, I want this, this, and this, and expect to drive home with it that day if it's not a standard thing. But you can special order something. It's just going to take longer, and it may cost a little more to do that. Someone just asked, what do we do with the body parts? I don't know what you mean with what is the body parts. Yes, it's safe to kiss people that have died. Can a family pet be cremated with the owner? No. Retorts are either pet retorts or human retorts, and you don't commingle. But person should be important to me, not just random relative. I have my mom's remains in a small heart urn. All 6 of her kids have one. Yes, we have there's little heart ones here too. Aloha down in Hawaii. Bought 2 plots in Iowa when going back home. Nice. I love Iowa. I really had a best time going to Dubuque. You guys saw my Trappist Casket Company video that went up last week. If you didn't see it, go watch it. It was such a great trip. I never knew Iowa was so hilly and beautiful beautiful and on the river and all that. I never knew it, so it was great. If your loved one is cremated and buried, how do you explain a suicide to young children? I don't know that you have to explain it to them. You can tell them the person had died, and you can, if they ask how they died, you can say, you know, when you're older, I'm going to explain more to you about this. Let's just grieve instead of, you know, walk through the death, not the event leading up to the death. Much easier to do that now, depending on the age, you know, because talking about somebody choosing to leave can make a kid feel like it was maybe their fault in some way, even if it's an extended person. So sometimes not diving into that part of it and keeping a little more general is the best thing to do. All right, guys, and thank you for bearing with me. If you're asking questions, just keep reposting, not insanely, but he mentioned, oh shoot. Thank you, Roger. Yeah, it was a really good tour I did there, and we had some hiccups with having to wear masks and the sound and everything, so it took a while to get that going. With body parts, they go back inside of them. I'm an organ. Okay, we don't take any body parts out. If someone's autopsied, all of their internal organs go in a bag that goes in the abdomen after the embalming. If you are donating and anything is procured and able to be donated, they take that before the deceased comes to the funeral home before the embalming. So it's a very small percentage of people that can really donate that heart and lungs and things like that. So it's such a small percentage, which is why they need so many donors, because then that means maybe a few more can donate. I know that comment wasn't true since he was only dealt with one funeral home, and that was for his dad. You know, people make very generalized comments when it comes to funeral home. Funeral directors are this, or all funeral homes are this, or this is the scenario. And that's not the case. We do that all the time with things. So why did I become a funeral director? I started in high school just working in the funeral home, and then it just became natural to me and became what I love. I can't imagine not working in the funeral business somehow, some way, whether it's with the next generation or whether it's educating the consumer or taking care of families. Do you know, I don't know, Julie, how much any of the product from Trust costs, but you can get right on their website to look at all their products and order. How do you place body parts into the casket? What do you mean by place body parts? The body goes in all together, so what body parts? Do you know if you donate your body parts? Oh, there's no more to that. There wasn't the rest of that question. Hey, David, good morning, or afternoon maybe. Do you dress and make up body presentable or body bag them? We don't just body bag people in general. If they're not presentable, we may just casket them. You know, even people who are looking great and the family just wants to have a close casket, we still get them ready, because you'll get the family that comes in and says, oh, cousin Frank came in and he does want to see her, so can you open it? No, the urn is empty. This is just a setup, that a display. Oh, if you donate your body parts, will they help pay for your funeral? So there are some companies across the country that will help pay for your donation. So the costs that you incur at the funeral home for the removal and getting all the paperwork filed and everything, they will help pay for that. Always look into these companies, because some of those type of companies are the ones that were farming body parts illegally and have been shut down and FBI investigated and everything. So make sure you look at reviews, Better Business Bureau, all of it, because everybody is not always on the up and up. So make sure who you're dealing with is in the up and up. And then we get like a lull and there's no questions. And then all of a sudden, boom, boom, boom. I love it. Hey guys, welcome. Hey Angie, hi Kari. Hey Jen, what's your funeral home overwhelmed when we were at the height of COVID deaths? You know, I saw two kind of spikes one last year, kind of towards the beginning, and then we had in the fall a much bigger one. David, what requests are you referring to? Thanks, Jen. Sorry. You know, I get so many random comments about sister, I just read sister, about some of my video stuff, like, oh my gosh, listen to her gulping, or look at her hair. Don't you have a hair? Do is what this is. So you're lucky that I'm not in a ponytail and, you know, changed out of my clothes by this point. How do you place a dismembered body into a casket? If we don't embalm and reattach, probably in a body bag. Why does a mouth seem stretched? So what you're referring to is a very common thing, kind of that look. And it happens just by bad placement, bad mouth closure. It just happens. And I see it at a lot of funeral homes. You get that widespread, stretched mouth. I don't know what they do to get that, but thank you, Eric. But it does happen. Yes, if you just graduated, you want to be a funeral director, go to funeral homes all around you, tell them your passion, ask if you can shadow them for a couple days, tell them you're not asking to be in the embalming room, you just want to see what they do behind the scenes, like in the office and meeting families or anything, just to spend time. Offer to take lunch and just chat with a funeral director for a while. Really need to open your eyes. Welcome, Dana. Hey. If somebody's ashes are buried, are you able to dig them up? You should not go dig up anybody, whether they're cremated or not cremated. Hey, Marie, someone asked what happened to unclaimed cremated remains. So it depends on the initial authorization that the family signs to cremate somebody. There may be a clause that if the person is not picked up within such a period of time, the funeral home then can dispose of them with scattering or burial or something. And so what funeral homes may do is when they get 100 of those stored, they'll bury them all in one grave out at the cemetery or something. But the funeral home's essentially paying then to bury them. Scattering, you can't reverse. So legal wise, it's good for a funeral home to bury the person, because then if a family comes along and wants those cremated remains, they can then pay, the family can, to go dig them up and bring them, you know, give them to the family. Do you have to be embalmed in Michigan? You do not have to be embalmed anywhere. So some state laws say that within so many hours you have to be embalmed, buried, or cremated. Michigan does not have a law. It has a rule. It's not something that's legally enforced by a law. However, a funeral home can mandate that you have to be embalmed for a public viewing. We saw this a lot last year, that if somebody had COVID, they had to be embalmed for a viewing, or they had to do this, or they had to do that. That is a funeral home requirement. It's not a state law. So make sure you know your laws. How close are we getting to having water cremation be legal all over? So Texas, it sounds like, just voted on this and they voted it down again. So I don't understand. Why can't we just do these things? It's so hard to get anything new passed when it comes to funeral business. It is so backwards. I don't understand it. So your guess is as good as mine how long it's actually going to be, because there's no rationale as to why these things cannot get passed. There's just no rationale. So I grabbed another thing to show you guys. Do you see I did a video on the memory glass. So this is just another company called Crystal Remembrance in Ohio. It's kind of the same thing. So they take a little bit of cremated remains and they just swirl it in the middle of like a super cool glass structure. So, I mean, if I had a loved one that was cremated, this would be a super cool way to have a little bit of them at home in a very artistic way. Someone said, how about the chemo question? I didn't see a chemo question. Who pays for an exhumation if it's done for law enforcement purposes? The law does. Can you cremate a body that has been embalmed? Yes. That's cool, Janae, that your aunt and uncle are in something like that too. I had a sister that died unexpectedly and was autopsied. I saw this white material behind her ear at the viewing. Was that thread? I didn't make a fuss. It could have been thread, or it could have been just some cotton because there was leaking or for absorption or something. Sometimes they'll put absorbent little pad around the whole back side of the head just in case. If a body's buried at sea, does it have to be embalmed, and how far away from land? Michael, I'm going to be doing hopefully some burial at sea stuff because I'm not near a sea that we can bury at. Some of that I don't know all of the specifics on. Can you get sperm from a dead body? That is a great question. I feel like I did it in a 2-minute once, but yes, you can, and it's viable for up to, oh, I'm trying to think back because I did look this up and look into it because a family had asked, and I want to say it's like an insane amount of time, almost like 36 hours or something. I could be totally wrong on that. This has been like 2 years ago. But you can get sperm. I'm not getting it out. You would have to bring in a special doctor to do it. Just like removing gold teeth, I'm not taking them out. You can pay to have a dentist come in, and you're not going to make any money from enough gold after paying the dentist. But if you want to pay a doctor to have somebody come in to do some of that stuff, that's all up to you if you're the legal next of kin. But usually the cost is exorbitant. We had an embalmed family before they were flown. Depending on what state you're going in and out of, you may have to, but you can fly an unembalmed body. No, you cannot be buried a body at sea in Lake Michigan. People will take cremated remains out and do that. So, how do you deal with very difficult and sad cases? This week we've had 3 young kids at our funeral home, and the situations are horrible. It's hard to come home. You know, they weigh on you, but focusing away from kind of the situation, I think what happens is often you go, oh my gosh, if this was me, and what if it was my kid, and blah, blah, blah. And I really, really strongly focus on, okay, I'm taking care of this, and I'm taking care of this child. Sometimes if that kid was in a bad home, a bad situation, it was abuse, it was this, it was that, I focus on the fact that I am going to take care of this sweet child finally for the first time in its probably life, if it had been abused or whatever, and I am going to give it as much care as I can while that kid is here, and I'm going to lay it to rest because its life was rough, and it was probably hard, and it went through a lot. So it just depends. Have I heard about the Tristan Bailey case? I don't know that I have. I may have and just don't know it by the name. Why were my grandma's wrists wrapped in plastic? They may have raised radials and raised the artery right here and had a suture, and so she probably had plastic up her full arm even, possibly. So Tristan Bailey, yeah, 13-year-old girl. It doesn't narrow it for me. Is that the girl that just was killed, the cheerleader recently? There's so many stories, and people send me so many things too, along with what's in the news and everything. You're welcome, Tracy. Okay, Sandy. Yes, I have heard some of this story, not a ton of it. Hey, Dan in Maryland. There's another question that had just popped up. What was it? More coffee. I'm almost out, guys. KD Hall. Hello from the first state. Hi guys, everybody's saying hey, hey, hey. How long does it take to complete mortuary school, undergraduate school? Figure about, it's a 3-year process. I have no interest in seeing what Marilyn Monroe looks like now, but there's people who are very obsessed with some celebrity that they would love to dive into and love to see, like Michael Jackson and whoever. So can anybody tell me what date Michael Jackson died? This was I know exactly what day he died. What day of the year did Michael Jackson die? Ever have to bury a twin? Yes, twins are really crazy situation for us, especially identical twins. When you've worked on one twin and you're burying the other twin, it's weird. Nope, it was June 25th. It was actually on my birthday. It died the same day as Farrah Fawcett. Could be totally wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure I'm accurate. Oh, I just missed something about my friend that died in another state, and she was told something to come back. Yeah, it was because it's my birthday, and I just remember that day at work very clearly that the news came out that Michael Jackson had died, and then I felt bad because Farrah Fawcett died later that day, and she kind of got overshadowed, her death, because Michael Jackson had died that day too, and it's coming up, my birthday. So yes, see, David? Exactly. So it's kind of a crazy thing. Think about that over the years, how some deaths really overshadow other deaths where you don't hear about different things happening. Someone had just sent me a case file on something, but there was like one boy who was murdered, and it never really made big news because something else happened that completely overshadowed it the next day. And so it just, things get buried within the news stories, or it's not as exciting news as somebody else's death or something. It's kind of a weird thing, how we hear about things and how some are played up more than others for media. Are above ground vaults or ground worse or better if the body is exhumed? Either or. In the ground is going to be a little cooler, but it's also going to be sometimes wetter if you're not sealed as much. Above ground, you're going to get more moisture and heat, and kind of an oven effect more so sometimes. So it all just depends on casket and everything. Awesome. Your son's birthday's on mine too. That's crazy. Yeah, it wasn't Michael's fault. It's not like he was like, I'm going to screw that Farrah, and not let people know about her death. Can urns be opened by the family once closed? Of course, as long as they're not glued shut. You can sometimes get a glued shut urn open, but not all the time. Always ask that they don't seal them if you ever think you want to go in them. Yes, I'm at a funeral home today. Nobody is in this urn, completely empty, just like a setup. Are taxes charged for burial? There's taxes charged for merchandise. That's it, just like with anything else. If you purchase an item, you're charged tax on it, like a casket, an urn, printed material, videos, things like that you're getting an actual product, you're going to pay tax on it. JW, what happened when someone is buried and you want to enter another body later? Will you smell the other body? Possibly, not always. It depends, like in a mausoleum where one goes in and the next one goes, there's going to sometimes be a divider between them, so you might not, even get to the other body. So it really just depends on the setup and the situation and how long it's been and everything. So how long does it take for a body to decompose within a mausoleum? So that question, there's no answer. There's too many variables. There's no length of time. What level of decomposition? Are you at the beginning, the end, soup? There's no way to answer that question. It's the number one asked question, and there's no answer. You're welcome, Esme. Thank you guys for joining. It was kind of fun that I could go live at the funeral home today. How long have you been doing this? I have been licensed 19 years. I've worked in the funeral home. What are we at? 26 years now? Do the funeral home request the death certificate or the family? The funeral home signs and files it with the county clerk, depending on the funeral home you're working for and the level of service you've requested from them. They may get the certified copies for you that you pay for, or they may go to the county clerk and get them that first batch. They're going to be the same price either way. Do you think mausoleums will be abandoned years from now? There have been cases already. That's the downfall of having these above ground buildings. They can be abandoned, and then your loved one is just in this building that's hanging out there, rather than, to me, kind of safer in the ground, even though that ground space it can be reused and dug up eventually. I mean, just like hundreds of years, 100 years ago, maybe out on somebody's farm, they went out and buried mom when she died in a wood casket where they never even thought, okay, 100 years later, they're now going to be building a strip mall on that property, and they dig and they find a casket. So, you know, over time things are going to happen, and it's kind of natural. It's the circle of life, but yeah, it's different. How long did it take you to successfully raise vessels? Every time is going to be different. Most of the time I can find them pretty quickly now, but it just depends. You run into a lot of different situations. Yes, I will do a video on cryonics. There is a facility here in Michigan that I'd like to connect with to do a video on that, because I think it's a really interesting thing. So you're very welcome for my videos. I love doing this. It's so fun educating people and hearing what people are curious about. Do funeral homes offer grief counseling? Yes. Funeral homes either have resources they can point you towards, or some have aftercare coordinators that are trained in either grief counseling, or they host just gatherings of widows or children or different things, and they can point you in right directions. They don't offer like always the whole come in and you could use your insurance so that we have a therapy session. It's just more talking you through, helping you through, pointing you in the right directions. Burial or cremation, which is more popular? Well, you also bury cremated remains. So which avenue does that fall under? It's about 50-50 in the country right now. Do I have a dead body here right now? Not with me, not in this space. There's no dead people. Do you have any experience with funeral insurance plans? What about funeral insurance plans? Will I be doing another ice cream video? I'm probably not. I think one time ice cream. Are chemo patients already decomposed from the medication? Not just chemo patients. People die before their bodies die because of medications that everybody's on right now. So we will get somebody who died an hour before and they already have a green abdomen, which is one of the first signs of decomposition. And that's before they've died. So we get somebody and they look like they've been dead for 48 hours when they just died. It's really crazy how things have happened. Do all funeral homes offer green burials? It's not the funeral home offering, it's a cemetery. Does your cemetery offer a greener option? Will they allow no vault? Will they allow a butter dish vault? Will they allow a shroud? So it's up to the cemetery if they offer a greener option or not. Oh, thank you. You guys say kind things. It's so sweet. Thank you. The Trappist Casket Company video was fun. I'm glad we finally got to get that one out. Is it cheaper to have a viewing at church or home? It's the same price. Same price. It actually takes way more staff and equipment to do a viewing at a church. When you get a body ready, are the internal organs removed? Only if there's been an autopsy, and then they're all in a bag. Have you heard anyone in funeral industry contact COVID from work on bodies? You can't trace it, so there's no way to prove that COVID was gotten from a deceased, or if it was transferred because the person went to the grocery store after they embalmed. So you can't know if they got it from a deceased. So it's just like you can't know if you got it from going to church or if you got it from going to the grocery store. Same thing. So a couple more questions I'll do today. You guys should see, I have my phone propped on a bucket of mints. You know, funeral home mints, gotta have them. Oh, something about burial pods. So you're gonna have to read those. They go away so fast. Oh my gosh, Bernadette, that's so sad. Her neighbor's son, who was 14 months old, died yesterday. Hello in Holland. We have a Holland here in Michigan. What attire do you wear during an embalming? It depends. If I go from home, it's usually just like sweatpants or whatever. I just throw whatever on and go. A mint. Yeah, seriously. I think I'm joking, guys. All the mints. What was the burial pod? Have you ever had a request to have an open casket in a Catholic church? We do. Out in the narthex, we'll have the casket open. How long does it take to embalm a body? About 1 to 2 hours. Oh. all of a sudden there's like a bunch and then they disappear, I tell you. Have you heard a day when you think, I can't do this job anymore? No. Is the crematory located at the mortuary? Not in Michigan. We cannot have a cremation center inside of a funeral home. They have to be separate, just like we can't have a funeral home in a cemetery. It's called a monopoly and you can't do it in Michigan. Some states you can. Some states are all inside each other. Hey Andrea, I'm coming to California next week. I won't be able to see anybody, but I'll be in California. Do green burials stop or affect exhumation? No, you can do an exhumation at any time. I still am missing the burial pod question when it comes up. It literally has gone so fast I can't read it. So whoever's posting that one, if you want to post it again, I want to read it and respond to you. Oh, come on guys, couple more questions. Then I'll be signing off for this week. What is a burial pod? A burial pod is a conceptual item where you put the body in and then you have a tree coming out, but it's not an actual product that exists because it's really not functional and would be not impossible, but near impossible to actually happen. So I don't really, it is not an actual product for a reason, because it just would not work. The logistics and everything behind it. What PPE do I wear? I'll wear a hairnet sometimes. I wear goggles. I wear a respirator, a gown, gloves. I wear special shoes. So I cover pretty well. The goggles, especially after years, I never really wore them, but as soon as I got sprayed one time in the face, that was it. Full goggles. Some people wear full masks or a shield over. I feel like they're a little too restrictive, but yeah. Do they still sell the big black vaults? I'm not sure which big black vaults you mean. Yeah, Esme, I really like coffins. So coffins are so classic and everything, so. Thank you guys, lots of nice words. So a mushroom suit is also an item that exists, but there's no actual data that it does anything. Check out, I have videos on the body pad and on the mushroom suit, so go watch them. They're with the Modern Mortician, and we talk about a lot of different burial things that are out there and whether they're actually useful or not, I guess. Are there extra expenses if you donate organs? Some funeral homes may charge more for preparing someone who is an autopsy deceased or an organ and tissue donor deceased. However, some of the donor organizations pay some money to the funeral home for the extensive restoration that is needed. So Nathan, I have not moved yet. So I have a new house. We're still in like the whole financing, inspection, all the good stuff. We're doing that. So, hey Dennis. Well, thank you for joining. I appreciate that. Well, thank you guys. Appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for checking in. I know it's been a couple weeks since I did a live, but go check out new videos. Make sure to keep commenting, keep sharing. We hit 80,000 subscribers last night, which mind-blowing to me. So it just keeps ticking up, which is very surreal. But thanks so much, and I will see you guys on the next video. Bye.